Jordan is having a little procedure done on his left thumb that he hurt in the game. We'll put him out a little bit of a while. Hope to have him back at practice next week, and shouldn't miss any regular season time. Sorry.
Which hand?
Left hand.
Did you break that?
No, it's a ligament thing. I'll let him get into the details of it.
Did he hang out on a helmet or something during the game?
Yeah, that last play when he kind of split two guys, I think a helmet just got it.
Well, what did you think of the overall performance in the game Saturday night?
Yeah, I think obviously disappointed in the overall outcome. There's always good performances in there, and there was some good ones, but certainly not enough. And as a team, didn't protect the ball. I thought, again, there were some play style things, particularly defensively, that I liked, but overall not good enough.
Do you expect Jordan to be able to have a regular type of training camp when he does return next week? And if not, what have you just thought of his camp to date so far?
He's had a good camp so far, obviously. I think as he gets back next week, we'll kind of assess where he's at. It's one of those things where I think he'll be back at practice next week, how much he can do leading into that Seattle game. We'll kind of see, and it'll be day-to-day a little bit. But, you never want any of these guys to be out because you want to be working as a team. They all need the work, obviously. More importantly, he'll be ready for week one, and that's the most important thing.
What's the concern level with how it'll affect performance? Last year he had the injury, and so he was slowed visibly, and then it probably affected him all season long. Any concerns with that being the issue with this?
No, I don't think so. I think again, I don't like any of our guys to miss time. I think it's important for all our guys to be out there. It certainly affects performance when you're not out there, but at the same time, I think we'll get him back in plenty of time, and I don't foresee this affecting him, long term at all.
Do you think that plays a part going forward in the preseason of like how much this team will play its starters going forward? Considering you have 2 more games left.
Yeah, I think that's kind of remains to be seen. We'll kind of see when he gets back Wednesday, and then how it looks next week. So we'll see.
He was handing off kind of with not the wrong hand, but the hand that he normally wouldn't at practice.
Right.
You don't foresee that being an issue come
I
the
don't.
regular season?
No. Mm-mm.
Coming up on a year since you made the trade for Malik Willis, just how much growth have you seen from him during that time on the field, but now also in support of Jordan and his backup?
Yeah, again, he came in, last year and kind of hit the ground running, did a great job. I think, where he sits now having a full off season with Matt and his staff, he's certainly, so much further along, not only, in his play, but then in, just how he affects the room as well. So really good addition to our quarterback room.
Hey, Goody, going back to Kyle's question, I don't know, were you in Pittsburgh in 15 when Jordy tore his ACL against the Steelers?
I was not there, no.
I keep hearing Ted's voice saying bubble wrap, right?
Yeah.
How do you wait? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is the risk of playing the guys that matter so much in games that don't count. Philosophically, how are you going to weigh this?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, but at the same time, the goals we're trying to accomplish require work, right? And you got to play. I think every team's a little bit different in that regard, but I know this particular team, in my opinion, needs to play together. So the more reps we can get, I think the better. Again, I think injuries are going to happen. That's part of this, and we have to be able to adjust and still move forward, and we will. But whenever guys miss time, it's never positive. But it's part of the game, and we're all used to it. And other guys, it creates opportunities for other guys. And when that happens, particularly in the preseason, I think sometimes that's nice to see because a guy will step into a role where maybe he's going against guys he doesn't usually go against, and that's helpful for evaluation. It's I stood next to Ted a long time where. When there was a chance of lightning for that first game, I had him in my head. He's like, oh, maybe they'll cancel it. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what he would have been thinking, And, I'm excited for our guys to have a chance Thursday and Saturday to kind of rebound from last week's performance.
So obviously he gets hurt on Saturday and he practices yesterday. What was the discussion between the end of Saturday to where you got to now?
Yeah, again, I think he had some options, you know, with what he could do. Obviously, I mean, you guys saw him out there. I mean, he certainly was able to function. But as we looked at all the options, and he did as well, the best option I think for him to get back, you know, the fastest and feel the best was to do this. And I think he wanted to go out there yesterday to kind of see how it felt. And once we got through that, we made the decision, and you know, he should be, you know, back. He should meet us in Indy on Wednesday.
Do you expect McKinney back for week 1?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How are Jordan's spirits? How's his spirit? How's he feeling?
Good. I mean, you guys know him. He's pretty level, and he's a pretty positive guy. I mean, obviously frustrated because he's going to miss a little bit of time. He doesn't like that, but I think, you know, obviously he's very smart, and as we walk through this decision, you know, I think he made a really good decision to have this done and get back quicker.
What do you think of the, you've been through a lot of camps, what do you think of the overall health of your team at this point compared with last year? I don't know if you've gone back and looked through data.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty similar, you know, as it was last year. You know, again, any injury kind of irks you and just, you know, frustrates you, but at the same time, when you know it's coming, you know it's part of it. I think Matt and his staff have done a really good job of kind of, you know, taking the pulse of our team and kind of knowing when to push, when to back off. And again, we got you know, really 4 really important, you know, touch points here over the next, you know, 10 days or so that can be really important for this football team. So I think we're ready for that. But yeah, I think it's been pretty similar to last year.
Do you judge it more by quantity of injuries or whether there are, you know, ACLs and Achilles and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, you look at it all, but I mean, I don't think we've had a ton of, over the last couple of years, I don't think we've had a ton of those season-ending type injuries, you know, maybe 1 or 2, but, you know, with the soft tissue stuff is the stuff we monitor more than anything because we feel there's a little bit of controllables in that, you know. But you know, the rules the way they are today with the amount of times you can be in pads and things are just different than what it used to be. So the balance of just trying to stay healthy and callous into your team for the season and coming ahead is tough.
Goody, I know there wasn't a lot of great stuff on Saturday night, but it looked like Jordan Morgan played pretty well. How encouraged were you by what you saw from him?
Yeah, you know, I think you know, he's had a really good camp. You know, played really well in family night, and I thought he even upped the level in the preseason game. So again, he's a young player that you know, still, you know, he's got his best football is going to be ahead of him, and he's still working on some things. But I thought he played really well. I thought, quite frankly, there's a few guys on the offensive line that played pretty well. Again, as a team, it didn't show up as much as we would have liked it, but I thought there were some pretty good individual performances. I think the biggest thing, and I'm sure Matt hit on it, is just some of the controllables, you know, some of the mental errors and things we can control pre-snap that I think we got to clean up a little bit.
What do you thought of the camp that Lucas Van Ness has had so far?
Yeah, no, he continues to sack days and he's productive and he's been really, really consistent. I'm excited for, you know, kind of what he's going to bring to us this year.
Do you think any improvement is just, you know, speaking of thumb, just being able to play with 2 hands right
Yeah.
now, or is there other stuff?
Yeah, and I think it's just a natural growth from him. I mean, you guys, I know you guys have all followed, you know, kind of the amount of reps he had in college to when he came into this league. And I just think, you know, I think DeMarcus has done a fabulous job with that entire group and with the way they're playing. And, you know, again, excited for what he's going to be able to do for us this year.
I think it was at the Combine, you said you expect Christian back around midway through the season. Has the progress he's shown altered that timeline at all for the better for you guys?
I mean, it's tough because when you see him run, and I'm sure you guys have seen him run too, like it's kind of like, you know, you want to throw him out there right now. But there's a kind of a timeline with these ACLs, and we're certainly, you know, he's ahead of the curve, no doubt about it. But at the same time, he's got a long career in front of him, so we're gonna make sure that, you know, we do the proper steps. We don't skip any steps along the way. But you know, I think, you know, more than likely he'll start the year, you know, on PUP. But when after that 4th game, when he's, you know, I'm sure he's going to be chomping at the bit. It's going to take a lot of us to hold him back.
Is Is time running out for Oliver and Williams?
I don't think so, no. I mean, again, missing this amount of time is tough, particularly on rookies. But you know, hopefully, you know, particularly with Oliver, hopefully we can get him out there before camp ends and then kind of see how he might be able to help us. Williams is probably going to be a little longer than that. So.
During this camp, Matt was asked, kind of a vacuum to see backing up Josh Jacobs, and he said, Josh Jacobs. You know? So, you know, do you think you got somebody there that seems like this could be an open competition for those 2 and 3 spots?
Well, certainly with Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks, we've got 2 established players that have proven their abilities in this league. Certainly we want to get Marshawn out there. Hopefully, I think this week we're going to get him out there. That'd be nice. See what he can add to the group. But no, I mean, I like the competition there. I like the kind of they're kind of a diverse skill set between all 4 of them, you know. And yeah, and I'm very comfortable with that group. I'd like to get some of them back out there. You know, obviously Emmanuel has missed some time and Marshawn, but it'd be good to get those guys back out there.
When you're evaluating the roster and making those decisions, how do you weigh kind of the different practice environments, pads, no pads, joint preseason, and just the ebb and flow that individual performances might have over these 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, I think everything matters. I mean, even the non-practice stuff, you know, how you're working in the building, you know. We actually had Billy Turner in here today talking to our group, and, you know, he just, you know, kept talking to these guys about, you know, doing the bare minimum. You know, it isn't going to get you anywhere in this league, and I think that's the thing. You know, with young players coming in, and I think most of the vets kind of understand this, that, you know, you got to take advantage of all the resources that are here to be a good player. And I think for us, that's part of the evaluation as well, what they're doing in this building and how they're handling themselves and studying and taking care of their bodies. But for me, it's always been, you know, the preseason games and now these joint practices where the level of competition is amped up a little bit. And quite frankly, in the preseason games where these guys have to make decisions out on the field without, you know, breaks in between each snap when they're tired. So those things matter to me, you know, and they always weigh a little bit more.
You had Hale as your IPP player last year, but he kicked in college, right? How did you kind of take us through how McNamee ends up here from your perspective as a team and scouting him and everything?
Yeah, well, certainly our pro staff does a really, really good job of monitoring all the international players. There's a couple, you know, areas where they get to see those guys live, you know, in the combine. They kind of have a combine from the specialist perspective. And then down in South Florida, they usually have a day where a lot of the international players are, and obviously we scout that. So we're keeping tabs on all those guys. Unfortunately, when Hale got the eye injury, he wasn't going to be able to kick for us for a little while. It was important for us to try to kick every day, and so we wanted to have 2 kickers. And he was one of those guys that had been on our radar, and because he's an international player, it gives us the extra spot, so it just made some sense.
How have you seen Matthew building kind of since being in the building here in his rookie year?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, you know, again, for a 3rd-year player coming out of college, I think he's done a really good job of just adjusting to our culture here. His work habits have been excellent, and he's one of those rookies that has made 1 or 2 plays every day that, you know, when you start to see that, the consistency of that, there's a lot of history here that those guys make it and are pretty good players in this league. Again, I think he's just scratching the surface, and he's still learning, you know, quite a bit. But he's made plays when he's had the opportunities to make plays, and that's a good sign. And again, I think certainly a lot more out there for him, and you know, he's working hard to try to get to those next places.
Hey Goody, I know it was just 1 quarter on Saturday night, but how valuable is it for a guy like Golden to line up across from Sauce Gardner for a handful of plays? I mean, in his first NFL action.
Yeah, I mean, I think particularly for young players, but all players, I mean, every snap that you have is valuable to learn something from, whether it's good or bad, you know, and, you know, I think particularly when you haven't seen things, this is the first time you're seeing things, you're going to grow from it. Some players grow faster than others, it's just the way it goes, but I think it's always about trying to see things for the first time, learn from it, and try to get into a comfort zone so you're not thinking. And once you get into that comfort zone, usually their true talents kind of come out. So
I'm only using it as an example, but how do you weigh couple preseason games versus like a career, like, and I'm gonna give, this is just an example, but like Hardman's had a really good career as a punt returner, had a bad night the other night. How do you do those things in the grand scheme of picking your options?
Yeah, I mean, guys that have done, significant things in this league, like Mecole has, and other players, I mean, there's that matters, you know what I mean? They've been in the fire, and not that you want those things to happen in preseason. I think if you evaluate it as something that is a trend, that's continuing to happen, and we've seen it all camp, certainly that would say them, but we really haven't seen that, so. Wasn't obviously a great, night for those instances for him, but he's done a lot of really good things in camp for us, certainly in his career he has. So certainly what a guy's done in the past, it certainly matters.
That's good. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks.
pretty shortly too.
Has Love already had his procedure?
From my understanding, it'll happen this morning. So probably close to it.
Matt, did it happen on a handoff to Chris Brooks or
No.
last night? I think he was sacked.
It was on that last play. Or I mean on the sack.
Did he aggravate it yesterday, or was it like, did he, after going through it, was it like, we need to do something about this?
No, he powered through yesterday. I thought he did a nice job. Some unconventional handoffs, but I mean, you do what you got to do. It's not the first time I've seen that from a quarterback where you're basically handing everything off with your right hand. So, I thought he did a nice job yesterday, being able to get through everything. It wasn't a factor on like any of the snaps, whether it was gun or under center, because that was my initial concern, was that it's going to impact on how we do things, and seems to be okay.
What was his level of pain or discomfort? Did he say anything about just how?
You guys are going to have to ask him that.
How does this impact the next week or two as far as you gotta get up to speed offensively, you got young receivers to incorporate and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, but that's life in the National Football League. You got to adapt, you got to adjust, and we'll try to make the best of it. Just like I've said with many of our guys, you never want your guys, you don't want anybody to miss practice, whether it's a starter or a backup. It doesn't matter. We want everybody there working on their craft, putting in the work to get better. But when somebody's not there, it's an opportunity for somebody else. So you just got to try to look at it glass half full and try to make the best of the situation.
Matt, you obviously dealt with Aaron breaking his thumb on his throwing hand in 22. How does the offhand affect a player, even if he has the surgery now and is better? How does it affect his performance?
Well, if it limits you in your ability to go out there and perform the task at hand. And from what no pun intended there, from what I've been understanding, that it's a pretty relatively quick recovery. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back out in some capacity sometime next week to work on and work through, because I've never personally dealt with a situation like this. So there's going to be some learning curve along the way in terms of how do we adapt and how do we adjust.
Matt, obviously you wanted to have the reps of going to a joint practice and potentially preseason game, all that, but do you think you'll just be able to kind of still be there, participate in plan, practice, film, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know until he gets back here and see how he feels. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, he'll be out this week. And then I would put it highly unlikely that he plays versus Seattle. As far as the practice is concerned, I can't tell you that at this moment.
More of an opportunity for Malik Willis. How have you seen him grow over last year? Where does he need to take that next step in your mind?
I just think putting together consistent performances, and I thought, considering the circumstances, I can't imagine him going out and doing much better than he did last season. I think he was here less than 3 weeks, and he had to start a football game, or was it 19 days or something like that? And he went out and he led our team to a couple victories, which I think is pretty impressive. So I love what Malik's been able to do in his short time here in regards to a lot of the core fundamentals that I think are critical in terms of producing good quarterback play. I think he's really honed in on the mechanics and fundamentals of that, and hopefully he can continue to progress.
He's throwing his share of interceptions in camp. What do you see going on there? And do you think part of it is him wanting to play more from the pocket in practice to improve his reads? Or?
Yeah, every situation's a little bit different. We'd have to go through the reel, and I could explain to you on everything when it was a bad decision or a bad ball, or maybe somebody else messed up. I mean, that's just a byproduct of it. But he had 2 yesterday, and One was a bad throw, he just missed the throw, and the other one, the ball got batted, and sometimes that happens.
Good.
Good. Can I ask one other thing?
No, you cannot.
What do you think of the overall health through camp? It had been going pretty well. Do you feel pretty good about the overall health?
No, I don't. I mean, right now, I don't. I mean, we're missing a lot of key players that are integral to our success as a football team. So, you know, it is what it is. It's an opportunity for some other guys, but we definitely had some injuries strike up at some positions where it's made us pretty thin.
I think other teams have canceled joint practices because of so many injuries. Was there any thought to doing that this week?
No.
Are you okay running back? I know Jalen was out and looked like Israel got banged up late yesterday.
I mean, we're a little thin there, yeah.
So overall, how did yesterday's practice go? I saw some push-ups going on at the end. What do you want to accomplish today before Thursday's important?
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot to clean up. I thought in terms of the energy and the effort, was where it needed to be. I still think there's another level of detail that we need to clean up, because I think the detail personally is what separates good from great. I mean, you can do the right assignment, but use a bad technique, or it's not just exactly the way you want it, and the play's gonna go to hell, potentially. You know, it's all, the guys gotta understand that detail is typically what separates in this league. And so I think there's a lot that we can clean up. You know, it's a double-edged sword when we're out there at practice in regards to if the defense does well, the offense doesn't, and vice versa. And so you try to look at it, you know, take the positives from each. But I just think on both sides of the ball, there's some communication that absolutely needs to get cleaned up. And then there's some of the techniques that we got to continue to hone and get cleaned up before the start of the regular season, certainly.
Matt, going back to Pete's question, now you've got Jordan where he's at, you got Reed and Wicks and Watson. What's the best way to figure out how to hit the ground running offensively when you're dealing with all this, when the season starts?
That's a great question. I think that's something that we got to figure out along the way. And I know we will, and we'll have a plan for it. We've been in, I would say, similar situations in the past, so you always lean into that. But ultimately, you just got to, every day is a new day in this league, and you just got to be ready to adapt and adjust.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.